Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling defeated, even after saying everything you wanted to say? That tight knot in your throat, that sense that your words somehow stripped you of power. Perhaps you've felt it too. Maybe you've been surrounded by people who speak the loudest, interrupt, mock and dominate, mistaking arrogance for confidence. And maybe you believed that staying silent made you weak, that not defending yourself meant surrendering. But what if everything you've been taught about strength is an illusion? What if true power has never been in words, but in their absence? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, saw something few dare to see. Those who speak too much reveal too much. Those who need to convince others have already lost ground. The world teaches us to argue, to justify, to defend our ideas, as if every conversation were a battlefield for truth. But nature shows us a different path, quieter, sharper, infinitely more intelligent. Silence is not emptiness. It's presence. It disarms. It unsettles. It forces others to face themselves. This message is for you, the one who feels ignored, overshadowed, dismissed. For you who leave discussions wondering if anyone truly understood what you meant. For you who stay calm while others take advantage of your peace. Maybe you've mistaken your silence for submission, but silence can be your greatest weapon. True victory doesn't come from winning arguments. It comes from not needing to argue at all. Why do we feel this burning need to respond, to prove, to correct? Because we've been conditioned to believe that truth must be defended. That silence means defeat. Nietzsche saw this as a sign of weakness, our fear of appearing weak. Behind that fear lies the ego, fragile and hungry for validation. When people argue, most aren't searching for truth. They're fighting to protect their beliefs. Argumentation becomes armor for the insecure. The louder they speak, the more fragile they reveal themselves to be. And when you feel compelled to justify yourself, to prove your worth, you've already stepped into their arena. You've already lost. Because the need to explain yourself is the need to be accepted. Nietzsche called this the herd morality, the instinct to conform, to please, to seek approval. But that very instinct keeps you powerless. Real strength doesn't come from convincing others. It comes from not needing to. It's holding your ground when others laugh, criticize, or reject you. It's being misunderstood yet remaining unshaken. This is power not measured by words but by composure. Power born from stillness. The moment you stop reacting, you rise above the game. The reactive mind is a captive mind. The observing mind, the silent mind, is untouchable. So how do we project strength without speaking? Nietzsche's answer was the Übermensch, the one who transcends ordinary limits and rules through self-mastery. Nietzsche did not write for the weak. He wrote for the few, those who dare to look inward, face their own suffering and transform it into strength. To him, the ordinary person lives trapped in conventions, in moral chains, and in a desperate need for approval. But beyond this mass exists another kind of being, rare, dangerous, and free. The Übermensch does not react to the world. He shapes it in his own image. And the most extraordinary part, he often does this in silence. The Übermensch does not waste time in debates. He doesn't indulge in emotional skirmishes or seek validation through noise. He watches. He understands. He speaks only when it serves purpose, and stays silent when silence carries more weight. Because he has discovered what most never will. Silence is a language that doesn't plead or persuade. It commands. The silence of the Übermensch is not emptiness. It is pressure. It is presence. It is the sound of complete self-mastery. While others shout to be heard, he speaks without words. While others explain themselves endlessly, he simply observes, and through his calm, he exposes their weaknesses. His silence becomes a wall, a mirror, a test. Those on the other side panic, trying to decode what hides behind that stillness. In their desperation, they overreact. They reveal too much. They lose control. And that is how he wins, not by attacking, but by never needing to. This silence is not passivity. It is control, the absolute discipline of energy. The Übermensch practices what Nietzsche called strategic economy, knowing that every word spoken is a move revealed. Every emotional outburst is a weakness exposed. That is why he stays quiet, not because he lacks words, but because his presence speaks louder than anything he could say. He has transcended the need to prove, to explain, to be accepted. His very being is the statement, and that presence, that impenetrable calm, unsettles everyone around him. Because when you stand before someone who cannot be provoked, you are forced to confront your own instability. In a world addicted to noise, those who master silence become kings. Nietzsche saw the Übermensch as a creator of his own values, his own morality, his own laws. He stands outside society's systems of approval and guilt. He cannot be manipulated by fear or shame, and that is why he is feared. His silence is a shield, an invisible armor against judgment, control, and emotional traps. And when he finally chooses to speak, his words are not mere sentences, they are earthquakes. But why does silence disturb people so much? Why do many feel threatened when someone simply refuses to react? What happens inside the human mind when expected? Confrontation is replaced by absolute quiet. The answer lies in psychology. To understand the true power of silence, we must first understand the chaos it creates in the minds of others. Silence is not simply the absence of sound. It is a mirror, and what it reflects for many is unbearable. When you choose not to react, you aren't just holding your tongue. You are forcing the other person to hear their own voice, to confront their own words, their own contradictions, without the comfort of your resistance. And that is profoundly unsettling. Because most people do not speak to express truth. They speak to protect themselves, to convince themselves, to cover the emptiness that lies between what they say and who they really are. So when you remain silent, their disguise begins to fall apart. Modern psychology confirms what Nietzsche already sensed. In any confrontation, silence is often perceived as judgment. The speaker starts to feel exposed and insecure. Without your reaction, they lose control of the narrative. The human brain goes on high alert. The amygdala, the fear center, activates. They begin projecting their insecurities onto you. In this invisible psychological battlefield, silence becomes a blade. It cuts where no one sees, but everyone feels. The higher spirit remains silent because every word spoken is a move revealed, every emotion exposed. Silence unnerves manipulators the most, breaking the cycle and revealing their hidden weakness. Silence also triggers unresolved pains. It awakens traumas of rejection, abandonment, humiliation. When you stop reacting, they realize they are not the center. Their words are not enough. Their presence does not move you. That is why silence is a strike at the heart of illusion. Yet silence demands courage. It is uncomfortable not only for others but for you. It goes against everything you've been taught, to respond, to justify, to explain. And that is precisely why it is powerful. Silence requires mastery. Mastery is true power. Now that you understand how silence affects the mind of others, exposing insecurities, breaking defenses, unmasks postures, it's time to use this strength intentionally. Silence can be transformed into a conscious weapon to win arguments without speaking. Once mastered, no one can control you. Knowledge without action is dead theory. The first step is brutal. Remain silent when your instinct screams to respond. This is the test of strength. The desire to justify is poison. Yielding reveals that you are still playing their game. True silence arises when you no longer need to prove anything. The second weapon is observation. While others fill the air with words, you listen, not as someone waiting to speak, but like a hunter tracking prey. You notice hidden fears, contradictions, insecurities disguised as arrogance, and you store this knowledge. Your words, when used, will be surgical. The third weapon is time. Let silence linger. Pauses create tension. When they wait for your reaction and nothing comes, their minds collapse into fear, doubt, and paranoia. A single look accompanied by silence can strike harder than 10 perfect sentences. The fourth weapon is unpredictability. When you master silence, you become untraceable. People cannot predict you, they lose control, and you become the gravitational center of every interaction. Silence at this level is dominance. But this is active silence, tense, intentional. You are preparing, positioning yourself with quiet power. And when the right moment comes, a single precise word can end the discussion. Not louder, but truer, deeper, undeniable. But there is a deeper truth. Sometimes silence is not strategy, but submission. Many are conditioned to believe that swallowing anger, avoiding conflict and staying calm is maturity. Often, this silence is exploited. People push ideas, occupy spaces, and drain your power. This is the morality of slaves, a system that teaches resignation, self-diminishment, and false virtue. Nietzsche wrote not for the resigned, but for those who break the chains, reclaim power, and stop surrendering silently. True will to power is mastery of self, not domination of others. The silence of submission must die. In its place must rise the silence of presence, unbending, unapologetic, commanding, capable of changing a situation without a word. The Übermensch embodies this. The world does not need talkers. It needs those who master silence and reign through it. Silence is not absence. It is presence, mastery, a signal that you are no longer reacting. You are shaping the world. The silence of the Übermensch is not cowardice. It is the silence of the warrior who has already won, who no longer needs to prove anything, who knows what he deserves. Look at your life. How often have you remained silent out of fear or guilt? Letting others decide for you? Enough. From today, your silence must change tone. Stop being an escape. Become an invisible shout of authority, a boundary, a statement of self, even if no one understands. Courage is required. Do you have it? Then choose it. Choose the silence that commands respect. The weak shout, the strong remain silent, and the wise choose when.